I'm going to read over the first 6 paragraphs of Luke O'Neill's The Year We Broke the Internet, so I can model for you the types of things I'm looking for in terms of your analysis. I recommend you read this text 2 to 3 times and then think about his argument and whether or not you agree or disagree. You're going to be doing what's called a rhetorical analysis. So you want to see if the author is credible, as well as how well you accept his argument. Does he give enough evidence? Is it sound? Is it free from logical fallacies, etc.? So I'm just going to start kind of showing you things I would mark and highlight. So for instance, in the very first paragraph, he has a nice metaphor, and you want to start looking at word choice because it reflects the tone of the piece. And so the word thoughtlessly is something I put in italics because it really kind of gets to his tone of ridicule, where he's poking fun or being sarcastic and kind of not very kind to you as a reader. And that's what's interesting about this piece, is he will go in and out of talking to you directly as a reader. And so it's interesting. And a lot of the stuff that he refers to, if you're not familiar, it is kind of dated. It's from 2013, but you want to just Google it and see what he's talking about. So he also says here that the internet, like the Sphinx, is a ravenous beast that eats alive anyone who can't answer its hoary riddle. So that's an analogy. So if you're not sure what the riddle of the Sphinx is, then you should Google that. And then ask yourself, is that a good analogy? Is he correct? He's setting himself up as an authority in this article. So you can say, yes, it's a good authority, or no, then it would be a false analogy, right? A logical fallacy. He also uses a lot of jargon. And so you want to look for those phrases that might relate to journalism or things that a journalist might be familiar with. If you don't know what it is, then that's a good hint that it might be some journalistic jargon. So I would Google Lovecraftian nightmare, and that idea of traffic at all costs is an example of that journalistic jargon. So anyway, moving on, BuzzFeed's Jonah Peretti and Sarah Critchfield are being set up as authorities, and he's quoted them. So again, you might Google them and find out, are these people authorities? But again, it's the journalism world. So in his world, someone who is an editorial director would be an authority, right? It would be his or her boss. So, but you as the reader may not see that the same. In paragraph 4, he gives us some good facts and statistics. So looking at what type of evidence he provides and asking yourself, is it sufficient? That is good to help with this analysis. And then we see a nice simile, and that just kind of shows his strength as a writer. He is creative, but he also draws us in sometimes with those uses of figurative language. And then he has a reference, a biblical reference. So again, that's more like cultural information, kind of cultural background. So if you're not familiar with the Tower of Babel, then you might want to look up that biblical story to see, again, is that a good analogy? And he talks about clicks and shares and uniques. That's, again, some journalistic jargon. So, and then I think it's interesting, he says, gaze upon our collected works in despair. On second thought, don't despair. It's bad for shareability. So again, that's kind of like the tone. He's talking to you and trying to tell you as a reader how to respond to him as a writer and what he's saying. So that's important to think about. And again, I put the tones definition down here. It's the writer's attitude toward either the reader or towards the topic. And we want to think about that. What is his attitude towards journalism and the publishing of information that we know, or the journalist knows, is fake? And then look at the word choice. Where is he using words that could relate to the tone of the piece? So that's the first 6 paragraphs kind of done for you. So I want you to get online and look at the PDF and continue this level of analysis. And it would be great to go to tutoring and get some extra credit and some help on this. All right, we'll see you online.